greatest westerns ever made.
I don't want one of them elders to get out of here alive.
The saga of four brothers.
I come to town to see my ma buried.
And their fight for vengeance.
Hey!
Against a ruthless land baron.
You want to own a town, you got to put out something.
The legendary John Wayne.
Look out!
With Dean Martin.
Who do you think was the dirty, stinking, low-down rat that killed our pa?
And George Kennedy.
I say you're a liar and a cheat.
In the explosive western classic, The Sons of Katie Elder. 8:30 Saturday on Prime.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Westerns for Life podcast. This is episode 23, in which we'll be taking a look at the 1965 Western. Got the poster for it coming up, The Sons of Katie Elder, starring, as you can see from the poster, John Wayne and Dean Martin, and directed by Henry Hathaway. We're gonna get into the plot of the film coming up right now. The plot. And it's pretty much a mystery western, as Carlos and I discussed before we hit record, in which Katie Elder, the title character from obviously from the title, she passed away, and her four sons, among them, of course, John Wayne and Dean Martin, they kind of come together in the aftermath of her passing, and into the town of Texas. In Texas, what was the town called again?
Clearwater.
Clearwater, yeah, Clearwater, Texas, in which the four brothers come together, and they find that not only has their mother passed away, there's also been some predicaments happening with the ranch, let's say, and they also discover a mystery surrounding their father's passing or death as well, and they kind of team together to kind of get to the truth of the mystery, let's say. So that's kind of like the brief plot synopsis. I don't want to focus too much on spoilers and stuff, but obviously, needless to say, there's some stuff that unfolds and some twists and turns along the way. So we'll get into the main cast of characters of the film, starting, of course, with the iconic John Wayne in our segment called The Characters.
The characters.
So yeah, again, starting off with the Duke, John Wayne. We covered him before on the podcast in our episode of The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. There he is, right there. So Carlos, the Duke, John Wayne in this film. What did you think of him?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt about it. As we record more and more episodes, there's going to be more John Wayne movies that will definitely feature. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do say John Wayne, when he turns up in Westerns, he's basically playing the same sort of character the majority of the time. You know, the big, rough, rugged sort of guy. Obviously, he's supposed to be, he plays the oldest brother out of the four, which is an odd four brothers because, you know, there are various age gaps, and obviously Dean Martin, very Italian-American, which we'll definitely talk about. It's your typical John Wayne character in this one. You know, he's a big, strong type. You know, you're not going to bully the Duke in most of these Western characters that he plays. I mean, obviously he plays John Elder, and yeah, like I say, it is your typical John Wayne character. You do get a few sort of great lines, and you're always going to get some great scenes, action scenes with him. But obviously, he's going to be throwing a few fists here and there. I think at this point, obviously, you know, he was diagnosed as cancer. I think they started shooting the movie late 1964, and they returned filming in the spring of 65 because he had they removed one of his lungs. So
I was going to say, I think he underwent surgery, didn't he?
Yeah. So I think there was kind of like signs. Obviously, he's in his late 50s, like sort of signs that he was struggling. I mean, he still insisted that he wanted to do a few stunts here and there, and obviously, I think, you know, there's always that high risk of him getting pneumonia. Which he did do that scene where he gets pulled into the river when all four brothers are having a bit of a sort of like a play fight in the lake sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, like I say, this is your typical John Wayne performance. I mean, if you love John Wayne in westerns. You're going to enjoy him in this movie. Obviously, there's other westerns and other characters that he's played a bit better, but he does his main part in The Sons of Katie Elder for me. So, what do you think of John Wayne, the Duke?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you and I actually kind of have a similar experience with John Wayne. Obviously, you and I we both kind of started with our westerns with Clint Eastwood and some people like that, like the generation behind him, let's say. And it's only later that you and I both went back and watched some of these John Wayne ones, so kind of similar in that regard. After having discovered John Wayne, again later down in my western journey, let's say. I do really appreciate him as an iconic figure. I appreciate a whole lot of his films. There are some films where I'm like, okay, well, they definitely feel of their time. They feel dated, But this is one of the ones I will say. In places, it might feel dated, this film, but it's kind of it does still hold up. And I do really like John Wayne's performance and his presence in this film. And especially knowing all the behind the scenes stuff about his cancer that he got and the treatment, and I guess he was missing a rib and stuff. So, yeah, kudos to him for still being a trooper and still being able to function in this film like pretty much like nothing has happened really. So gotta take my hats off to the Duke. So I really like this performance in this. Not my favorite, not necessarily my favorite John Wayne film, but it's a good one. And I like the performance. So as you have mentioned, some of the brothers, an odd mixture indeed. We do have as a second lead, Italian-American actor and singer, Dean Martin. Let's see, where do we have a picture of him? It's together with the Duke right there. So there he is, Dean Martin. So what did you think of Dean Martin in this film, Carlos?
Odd choice. I mean, he's playing Tom Elder. Kind of looks like the second eldest. Excuse the pun. I mean, there's obvious age gaps in the four brothers. I think even Dean Martin actually said he found it that he didn't quite fit into the cast with this. Like I say, he's Italian American. He's got that shiny black hair. He's got that tan, very Italian American looking. Obviously, this is John Wayne and Dean Martin. Obviously, they were in Bravo 6 years before the Howard Hawks Classic. So it's kind of like the return of them two together, who they were very good friends socially. And John Wayne had been on Dean Martin's TV show numerous times. So they've gotten really, really well. The chemistry's there. Dean Martin, I think he was one of the standout performers in the movie Rio Bravo when he's playing it. He's playing the drunk.
Yeah,
he's playing the drunk in that. But this one, it kind of takes a bit of a backward step in this movie because there are quite a lot of characters in the movies, and it's got a movie with a good cast. I mean, he plays like kind of like a professional gambler. But there's only really one scene, the scene with his eyeball in the bar, that really you get to see that in full. But like I say, I mean, going into this, if you haven't seen this movie, the main thing that you want to see is John Wayne and Dean Martin together, because obviously, Rio Bravo is such a classic. And it's probably the main reason why you'd want to have this movie in your collection, or even watch it, seeing them two together. And like I say, the chemistry's not as great as it was in Rio Bravo, but it's still decent. I mean, I think Dean Martin's character, like I say, he's kind of a bit, I wouldn't say he's a buffoon, but he's not. There's not that many layers to him. As it was in Rio Bravo, and I mean, as an actor, I mean, obviously Dean Martin he was in a few other westerns like Five Card Stud, which is another Henry Hathaway movie. Bandolero is another good one that I always enjoyed him in. So he always looked well in westerns. Some of these comedy movies that he used to do, I wasn't really a fan of some of those movies. But honestly, I actually prefer his singing. Because I do like Dean Martin as a singer and an entertainer. because the guy was so smooth, and I actually preferred him over Frank Sinatra. But
Mm.
in westerns, I enjoy watching him in westerns mainly. It's just the comedy movies and some of those light-hearted movies I wasn't a fan of because he's kind of like his singing sort of persona in there because he's singing a lot in those movies. But yeah,
Yeah.
Dean Martin's okay in this, but not as good as he was in Rio Bravo.
And actually, there's nothing that I can really add to that. You pretty much just said everything.
Oh, sorry.
You pretty much enunciated my thoughts that I had on D Martin. Same as you, I also prefer him as a singer. I listen to quite a lot of his songs. I really love him as an artist, as a singer. And also, I am also in agreement that he is definitely much better in Rio Bravo, or he works better in Rio Bravo and has a better role in Rio Bravo than he does in this film. Not to take anything away from his role, I think he's good in this film, and he definitely adds to it. And it's good to see him and John Wayne together on screen again. But again, just like you said, it was done better and to perfection, pretty much almost in Rio Bravo, which is an excellent West. I'm sure we're going to cover that one day as well. But so yeah, that's pretty much. I guess we're in total agreement on Dean Martin this one.
Jeff, I've got to ask one question. Out there singing, Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin, who do you prefer?
Dean Martin.
I do.
Yeah.
I do like Frank.
Let's do him much more than I do Frank, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, his voice is a little bit more stronger, but I think Dean is Dino.
Dino,
he was just so smooth and slick.
Yeah.
I just needed.
And I think maybe a lot of people always say like Frank Sinatra was the inspiration for Johnny Fontane in The Godfather. I think Dean Martin plays a role there as well. I don't know.
I can see that.
I can see Johnny Fontane as more of a Dean Martin character, but maybe that's just me. But yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a tangent there, but we'll just move on to the other two brothers. We're going to have to cheat. I'm going to have to look at their names. So we have as the youngest brother, we have Michael Anderson Jr. as Bud. And we have Earl Holliman as Matt Elder, respectively. And I do have a group shot of all four of the brothers right there. So we'll just briefly discuss the other two brothers. I do like the youngest one. The character, the actor that played Matt didn't really get to do a whole lot more than the other ones. But anyway, what you think of the other two brothers, Carlos?
I've got to be honest, Earl Holman. I've seen him in movies before. I know he was in a lot of sort of westerns in the 50s and 60s. Recognizable face, TV shows and westerns in those 2 decades. I enjoyed his character, but the one I found annoying was Bud Elder. I don't know, he was kind of just overexcited, and he just kind of annoyed me a little bit, and he was a little bit too fresh-faced. I mean, he looked like about 16,
very young,
to 20, where you got John Wayne. He's coming into this role in his late 50s. I mean, that's a hell of an age gap.
Yeah, how old was he mother? It's
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, she was. Damn. Yeah. I mean, Miss Katie Elder.
She got around.
She was putting it about a bit. Yeah, you know what I mean. But ain't no stopping to her. But all ages. But I just thought the age gap. I mean, originally for the character of Bud Elder, it was going to be a Disney actor by the name of Tommy Kirk, if I'm correct. But I think either during filming or before filming, he had to get removed from the project because I think he got caught at a party with marijuana, and that actor, his career literally nosedived just before filming or during filming. I'm not 100% sure. So, I mean, again, he looked a little bit fresh-faced in the pictures that I've seen. So maybe they really wanted a fresh-faced son. But I just thought, the character looked a little bit too young. He looked more like a teenager. If he was like mid-20s or even late 20s, I can probably just get over that he's brothers with John and Tom Elder, because
Yeah.
the age gaps are a lot more closer. But yeah, I mean, like I say, apart from Earl Holman, I enjoyed his character as Matt. I mean, obviously, the ending of him, I was a bit surprised by that. But
Yeah.
yeah, the Michael Anderson, I think, no, he probably a bit of a sore point for me as one of the brothers. But it was okay. I think
Yeah.
I think in general, I think if you're going into this movie, you're really going to be focusing on Dean Martin and John Wayne's character.
Oh yeah.
Like I say,
Yeah.
a little bit annoying for me, the youngest son in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you pointed that out because I was also like, oh my God, John Wayne just slapped this kid in the face. He's really getting on my nerves. So and
Yeah,
luckily he did. So yeah.
he needed slapping, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. He did. Yeah, I mean, not to discredit the actor. I mean, the actor obviously just worked with the script that he had, and obviously he did what the director told him and stuff. But yeah, the character, I think intentionally definitely was a bit annoying. I think he definitely grows a little bit on towards the end, but yeah, not by much. But yeah, overall, I like the dynamic of all four brothers. I do agree that it is kind of absurd to have this young kid who's like barely 20 or whatever. So the age gap is a little too much. You kind of have to suspend your disbelief a bit too much for that for me. But I did like the dynamic between all four of them, and I did like that character aspect that they want to get Bud to college and all that stuff. I was like, that's interesting. You don't hear that too much in westerns, like go to college and stuff. So
Yeah,
that was kind of
good point.
fresh, but. Yeah, overall, I like the dynamic, but yeah, obviously, like you said, this is a John Wayne Dean Martin, starring vehicle. So, yeah. Guess that brings us to, guess briefly, Women of the West. It's not a big role for the actress in this one, Martha. Got a cheat Hire. There you go, Martha Hire, and we got a picture. Oh, hang on, I should have the segment set up. There we go. Women of the West coming up right now.
Women of the West.
Or Martha Hayer, however you pronounce it, and I do have a shot of
Oh,
her with Dino on the set right
yeah.
there as the character of Mary Gordon. So, what you think of her as Mary Gordon, Carlos? Again, it's not the
Not
biggest female role, but
Yeah, I mean, like I say, this movie is very male dominated. I mean, you kind of do get, is there a sort of love interest between her and John Wayne's character? But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, she done okay. I mean, not an actress I'm really familiar with. I mean, the face, I didn't recognise her straight from the bat on the get go. Yeah, like I say, it was passable, but like I say, not really much of a role for her to stamp her authority. Because like I say, it's male dominated this movie.
yeah,
But she was okay.
yeah. I'll second that. Like I said, it's not the biggest female role in the western, but it did add to it a little bit. Obviously, it is like you said, male dominated, and have to the occasional scene with a woman in it is. It's kind of a nice change of pace here and there. So it was kind of awkward, a little bit of will they, won't they between her and John Wayne. It's like,
Yeah,
oh my God, John Wayne's like almost 60. She must be like, what, in her 30s, whatever. So it's a little bit of an age gap as
yeah,
well. But yeah, if not younger than that. But yeah, no, I like the actress. I like the part for what she did. But yeah, nothing to write
yeah,
home about, really. So. I guess that leaves us to the main villains of the film, and actually the son of the main villain, who doesn't get to do a whole lot until the end, is actually more interesting than the main villain himself. But the combination of Dennis Hopper there as the son, and hold on, I'm looking for the name, James Gregory as Morgan Hastings, and of course, yeah, Hastings Jr. right there, played by Dennis Hopper. So, what you think of the father-son villains in this film, Carlos?
um, yeah. I mean, James Gregory, I think he plays a decent villain. Obviously, as in the case in most of these Western storylines, you've got somebody who tries to take over. He's there for the money, for business. He's got a little crew behind him of men that's trying to keep him kind of like one of the main players in the town of Clearwater, and obviously, he's got his son, played by a young Dennis Hopper, which I actually thought
I
first.
almost didn't recognize him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I actually thought he would have been a good addition as being John Wayne's
Hmm.
young, as in one of the Bud Elder.
I could
But
see that.
again,
Yeah.
now I think if you would have had that, Dennis Hopper and Dean Martin's character as brothers, it would have kind of threw that
Hmm.
off a little bit. But I always thought that the first movie I'd ever seen Dennis Hopper was in actually True Grit, another Henry Hathaway movie,
Yeah.
which he had a part in that. That was the first Dennis Hopper movie that I'd ever seen him, but I was wrong. I mean, I totally forgot he was in this movie until his name popped up in the opening credits. But
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed Dennis Hopper, his character as the son of the kind of the rich, the kind of the rich owner who's taken over the kind of Elder Ranch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought they both sort of accommodated it, well together. I mean, they did have one scene together where he tried to sort of stick up against his father, which ended sort of bad for Dennis Hopper's character. But yeah, it definitely added to it. Not, I mean, I wouldn't say Dennis Hopper's character was a big villain. I mean, that would be the next character we're going to be talking about. But those two definitely added to the movie for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said. It's kind of like the for James Gregory's character. It's kind of like the sort of archetype of a Western villain, like the rich landowner, railroad baron,
Yeah.
whatever. It falls into that kind of category. And for what he did, for what he had to do, I thought he did a good job, especially towards the end. He got more and more sort of menacing and stuff.
He did.
Dennis Hopper was surprising. This was, I should say to the people watching, this is only my second time watching this film that I watched now for the podcast. And I didn't remember him being in it at all. And I was like, oh, cool, Dennis Hopper's in this. Then he popped up here and there a little bit in the background for a few scenes. I was like, is this going to be a non-speaking part for him? Is he just going to be? But then towards the end, he did get something to do. So that was nice to see. No, as villains, I think they're serviceable. Very serviceable, very good villains. I think there is one character that I think we're going to get into now. I think he should have been the main villain because he definitely had the charisma and the look and presence of a real villain. He did have more to do initially than I initially thought. So let's just step into the character played by the great George Kennedy right here. We do have a picture of him as what was his character's name? Curly. That's it. Yeah, Curly. Great name for a villain. And yeah, George Kennedy. We love him, I think. So, Carlos, what did you think of George Kennedy in this film?
Yeah, I mean, likewise. I mean, going into this Western, I forgot he was in this one as well, and I thought, well, his name's quite down the credits a fair bit, but when he does pop up, he does steal the show in quite a bit. I mean, I do have a few good scenes with him and John Wayne, which I really enjoyed because they're quite an even match in size and build and presence for sure. I mean, obviously, if I was around in the '60s and would have watched this movie, in the '60s, you could have spotted that George Kennedy was going to be a name in movies because obviously, 2 years later, he'd win that Academy Award for his role in Cool Hand Luke, and yeah, I mean George Kennedy. If it's a small role or a major part, I always enjoy watching him. I mean, I know I always enjoyed him in From the Bottom Lightfoot. I always have him as the man who
beat up as well. Yeah,
I always have.
Oh yeah.
I always have him as the guy who beat up Jeff Bridges in that movie, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You killed a young Jeff Bridges, sort of thing. But he's great. George Kennedy's great, and he's believable as a hired gunfighter in this movie because he does have a good look. Yeah,
dressed in black. Yeah.
So he looks the part and is the part. For me, I probably would say he was my favourite character in the movie for how small. Well, it's not really small. He just pops up. There, like I say, there's a lot of
Yeah.
there's a big male cast in this, but he was my. I think he just sort of outshone the other actors in my opinion. So I enjoyed his character. George Kennedy was great in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he did a great job. He definitely made the most of the screen time that he got, and definitely a standout. Yeah, George Candy. Just like you always think back to the films he did with Clint Eastwood and Iger Sanction, and also Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Like you said, he was a real sadistic prick in Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Also, a memorable role that I always remember him from is the Delta Force, where he was the priest on the airplane.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's been in tons of films. Great actor, obviously. Yeah, just like you, I think he should have really had more screen time. I think he should have been in it more. Maybe even participate in the final gunfight, the final action scene, I guess. But yeah, no, George Candy, great. Just a great presence, just a great actor to have in this film, and just like you said, you could see he would go on to do great things after this. So great role, just pretty good cast overall in this one. To be fair, all around, a few exceptions here and there, but anyway, that does bring us on to our next segment, which is the director himself, Henry Hathaway. So we'll go behind the camera for this one.
Behind the camera.
Yeah, director Henry Hathaway, who, like you said earlier, he did also do True Grit with John Wayne as well, and that would be an Oscar-winning film for John Wayne in particular. That one. So, Henry Hathaway, what can you tell us about him, Carlos?
I thought, it was a well-directed western. I mean, he was an actor who'd done quite a few westerns. You know, he always worked quite a bit with John Wayne. I think most people are going to say, True Grit is going to be the one that's going to sort of be mentioned quite a bit. Quite a few Gary Cooper movies he done with him. I did mention Five Card Stud with Robert Mitchum and Dean Martin. I think that was might mean 69, late 60s. Nevada
68.
Smith.
Yeah.
Nevada Smith, which is an episode we've actually mentioned, as a choice for me, with Steve McQueen was another western that he directed. I always enjoy that one. So he done some very good westerns. A very accomplished director, Henry Hathaway, and like you could tell. I mean, the westerns is beautifully shot, and even the locations. It wasn't rushed. Like I say, they did shoot in Mexico, North Mexico, and I think Denver and Colorado. I think so. Yeah, it was a well shot western, and they used the locations to its fullest for sure. So yeah, good director, very good director.
Yeah, I agree with that. He definitely knew what he was doing. The film looks great. Obviously, when you look at True Grit as well, which is, I think, the only other one that I've seen of his, to be honest. Still have to see Nevada Smith. Still have to get a copy of that, actually. But no, he definitely knows what he's doing in terms of directing, in terms of setting up the shots and choosing the locations and all that stuff. Top marks for Henry Hathaway. It's a good job on this one. And the other one that I've seen, definitely got to see more. Got to see a 5-card stud. Sounds interesting. Got to definitely check that one out. So, and I think that brings us to what do we got? Oh yeah, the music for this one, the soundtrack by Elmer Bernstein of Magnificent Seven fame.
The music.
Which, speaking of the Magnificent Seven, some bars in the main theme did remind me of the Magnificent Seven, but maybe that was just me. It sort of sounded like Elmer Bernstein was kind of trying to go back into that kind of sound. But no, I do like Elmer Bernstein as a composer, and I think he did a great job for this soundtrack as well. It fits with the film. But what do you think of it, Carlos?
Yeah, I mean, I think the soundtrack is one of them ones where you think it sounds like Elmer Bernstein. Obviously, Magnificent Seven, The Great Escape are two of my
Great Escape.
favourites.
Yeah.
It's not as good as those. I mean, you know, they were
No.
really, I mean, they're great soundtracks. I mean, this one was decent, but it wouldn't be one that I would sort of want to purchase. I mean, those other two, yeah. I mean, they're classic. They're classic themes that, you know, even the average movie fan would be able to recognise. This one, decent for the time of a mid-60s western without being spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, in places that they remind me of the Magnificent Seven, kind of had that same sort of bombastic, sort of orchestral, I guess, sound to it. I do like Elmer Bernstein, like you said. It's the not Dirty Dozen, Great Escape, and the Magnificent Seven. They're obviously his best soundtrack, the more recognizable soundtracks. If you just listen to a piece of it, it's like, oh, that's from Magnificent Seven. That's from Great Escape, you know. So for this one, again, it's serviceable. I would say if I was listening to this outside the film, it would be the main theme only, not like the entirety of the soundtrack. It would be just the main theme only. So. But it does fit the film. It does work very well within the film. I guess that leads us up to favorite scenes. This is going to be a good one. So here we go with favorite scenes.
Favorite scenes.
And as I was watching, it was kind of hard to decide which what would I pick for a favorite scene. But I think I've got one. So I'm hoping you won't see my thunder. But Carlos, what is your favorite scene, my friend?
Well, I think there is one big main scene. I'm going to leave that to you, which I'm pretty sure you're going to pick that one. Which kind of it sets up for, you know, a good sort of last third of the movie. But I've got to be honest. I mean, when George Kennedy's name popped up, and like yourself, it'd been a hell of a long time since I last watched this movie. Probably when I was a teenager. And I was really hoping that we're going to get a scene with George Kennedy and John Wayne, because I was thinking, well, it kind of looks like he's maybe going to have a small role at the start of the movie. Obviously, John Wayne doesn't really come into it till after about 10, 15 minutes. But when they have that first scene together, basically, you know, he's a hired gunfighter, George Kennedy, and he knows the oldest brother, who's got a reputation, John Elder, has come into town, and he's starting to ask questions, and he's seeing sort of various sightings of him. And when they do meet up, you know, I wouldn't say it's a classic brawl, but, you know, you've got two heavyweights, you know, in stature. And I enjoyed that scene because obviously, you know, John Wayne's one of these guys. He always, just by looking at his sheer size, you're always going to come out second best, even though the scene doesn't end up good for George Kennedy's character. But I enjoyed seeing that scene, the two of them on screen together. So that's kind of why it's my favourite scene when they do meet up.
Yeah.
And you do get a bit of a kind of an underwater scene, but which it was fun to watch the two of them on screen together.
Yeah,
you kind of got the young up and coming actor working with a great actor in John Wayne. So I enjoyed that scene, and I think they might have had another one or two scenes in the movie as well. Like I say, George Kennedy, him playing Curly as the hired gunfighter, I really enjoyed his performance in this one. So it's kind of why, you know, him going up against John Wayne was, you know, the first scene together was one of my favourite scenes of this movie. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I do like it whenever them two meet in the film. One scene in particular that I was fond of is kind of leading up to that in a way, where first we have the glass eye bit in the saloon with Dean Martin. I love that bit. That definitely stood out to me. Love that bit with the glass. And of course we forgot to mention Strother Martin pops up in that scene. Yeah. Strother Martin, yeah, always loved seeing him. Cool to see him there pop up. So yeah, I love that bit, and that obviously leads into a confrontation at the tail end of that scene. I would have picked that probably, but I do really like all the action that takes place around the bridge scene, which is in the
That's it.
third act. Yeah, which I'm not going to spoil too much, but yeah, some explosions happen, some shootouts, some gunfire happens back and forth. It's a pretty cool, well staged action scene for a
Yeah,
western
yeah. I
of this
think
time era. Yeah,
it was nicely set up,
yeah,
that scene, and obviously, well, obviously, without giving too many spoilers away, when they paused at the bridge, you just knew this is where it's going to kick off.
yeah,
So I enjoyed that. There was another scene I think you might have said was the scene where the four brothers are arguing and they have a bit of a punch
yeah.
up. I enjoyed that scene, but it slightly went a little bit too long and a little bit comedic
I had
on
the
on
same
the
issue. Yeah,
on
yeah,
the on the young Bud Elder character when he was getting
yeah,
thrown from room to room. Like I say, it was quite funny. I mean, there was a bit where Tom Elder, obviously he gets Dean Martin's character, he gets punched by John Wayne, and then
yeah.
Tom Elder, Dean Martin's character, went and punched the other brother, and the other brother goes, "Oh, why did you hit me?" He said, "Because
Because you stood
you
by
just
when he
want."
punched me. Yeah,
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 I kind of thought that was
yeah,
funny when that
yeah,
happened. I did get a chuckle out of that. That did make
yeah.
me
That
laugh.
worked. Yeah,
That worked. But the young guy, Michael Anderson Jr. as Bud Elder, just a little bit annoying
yeah.
towards the end of that scene. So there's some good scenes in this movie.
Yeah, with that scene for like the first minute or so, I was like, okay, this is kind of funny, this is working, but it kind of went on a little too long. It sort of outstayed its welcome, let's say.
Yeah, 15
I
seconds.
did like the ending of it when he just falls outside and the guy's on the wagon outside. It's like, oh well, howdy,
Yeah,
yeah. I thought that was
yeah,
a good ending
yeah.
to it, but yeah,
Maybe 15 seconds a little bit too
yeah,
long.
yeah. Okay, so that's excuse me, my throat is a bit dry. So that's favorite scenes. So let's go to our final section, a review roundup, in which we're going to give our final rating and just our overall thoughts on the Sons of Katie Elder. So here we go with the review roundup.
The Review Roundup.
So I'll be brief and concise on this. It's like I said, like I alluded to earlier, it's a film that it's not a John Wayne favorite. It's not a top 5 or maybe not even a top 10 John Wayne film, but there's a case to be made for it maybe. But there's definitely quite a few John Wayne films that I would have over this. Not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with this one. I do like the story at its core. That's just four brothers coming together. They haven't seen each other in a while, and this tragedy that happened in their life kind of brings them together again, and they fight together, team up together to uncover the mystery and stuff. I do like the basic premise of it there. But it could have been, it's not flawless. Obviously, we mentioned like the age gaps between some of the brothers is a little too unbelievable, and this and the younger brother's annoying and all that stuff. Not really a great female presence in it. Obviously, it's much more of a male-driven western. But for all it's kind of like minor flaws and critiques that I have for it, I do think it's a very solid one. It's not one that I would recommend to people getting into westerns. It's one I would say for further down the line. But it is very, very solid. And I think my final cowboy hat rating would be 7 cowboy hats out of 10, which I think is more than fair for this classic western, which is now 60 years old. We should mention since 1965. So this is also celebrating its 60th anniversary. So that's my kind of final thoughts.
Yeah.
Carlos,
Well said, Jeff. A few minor points. I mean, obviously, Jeff mentioned about the age gaps with some of the brothers.
Yeah,
that can't be helped, and it's pretty obvious. I think the last Western we said about the age gaps was in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, and how old James Stewart looked from one timeline to another. But like I say, it's not so much the age gap; it's also the backgrounds and how obviously Dean Martin's character as well. That's the only probably slight issue. I mean, I've heard one or two reviews of this Western. They had this Western as it does. it does plod on. It is a little bit slow, but I didn't
Mm.
have an issue with that because, like Jeff said,
Yeah.
it's a mystery western. You don't get the you're not having the full story from the get-go. I mean, you're talking about the plot is based around two characters that we don't even see in the movie itself: the
Yeah.
father and the mother of the four sons, and it's kind of like a mystery. What happened to the ranch that their parents owned, and what happened to the death of their father? You know, that's a bulk, that's a large chunk of the movie. So they're my only slight gripes, because I mean sometimes we do need to have certain scenes and certain characters to kind of put us at the start of the movie, so we're kind of rolling along with it nicely without sort of trying to guess, having too much guesswork. Good points, obviously. It's a fine western from an accomplished director. You've got a very good cast. Obviously, the two main leads, greats, John Wayne and Dean Martin. You've got a very good supporting cast, with some fantastic Western regulars like Strother Martin, a young Dennis Hopper, and George Kennedy. George Kennedy is, for me, it's like
He steals the show. He steals the
he
show.
steals the
Yeah.
show for me. Like I say, you can tell that he was going to be one of them kind of likable, or one of them character actors that you kind of dislike if he plays a bad guy. He was quite versatile, George Kennedy. That's what I always liked about him. He, you can always say he wasn't a main lead, but he'd always play the second or the third part of the movie, or even a small role. He would be, he'd come into it full on. That's why I always enjoy seeing him pop up in the movie, because he brings something to the table. Yes, like I say, it's well shot in the US and Mexico. It's not the most action-packed Western. Like I say, there's a heavy build-up, but then
Yeah.
when the action scenes do take place, it's worth watching. I totally agree with what Jeff says. It's not a classic Western from the career of John Wayne. There's going to be far other greater Westerns that he did, but that's not to say this is not enjoyable. And he's done something a little bit different with this one, because, like I say, it's a mystery Western rather than a shoot 'em up. And I got to agree with Jeff. I'm going to go with a 7 cowboy hat rating out of 10 for this one, because it's a solid Western with some good action, and you've got some good classic scenes in this one with a fantastic cast. Totally agree with what Jeff says. It's probably not one that you would recommend to a Western movie newbie.
Yeah.
If you're trying to go through the career of John Wayne, this is probably one of those John Wayne movies you're going to watch a little bit later on after watching the classics first. So yeah, that's kind of my rating. Good points and bad points for the Sons of Katie Elder, and on this 60th anniversary
Mhm.
episode. Do you have any trivia, Jeff?
No, most of the trivia, I think. Well, there's a lot of trivia for this one, to be fair, but we did mention quite a bit with John Wayne, with with the cancer stuff that he had, and surgery that he underwent and stuff. So we mentioned all that. That's kind of the stuff that I had prepared. So don't know if you have anything else.
The only other bits I heard, that I think the movie, I think there was talk that they wanted to do this movie in the 50s with
Oh,
Burt
yeah.
Lancaster
Yeah.
under John Sturgis. I don't know how cemented or sealed that deal was going to be, but then I also heard that Charlton Heston was looking at being in the movie in the 60s. But I think by the time it got round to filming it in the mid 60s, the storyline that they had for it in the 50s had completely changed, because I think this was based on a team of brothers in the Western times. I can't remember the name of the brothers. It might have been the Marlowe brothers. Something that I read. But
Okay.
as the case with most movies, if it's not done at that year or that decade, then when it comes to filming, they would always change it anyway. And it's never true to life, or anyway, because Western times, they're always going to spice it up a little, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah. So so I think that leads to what was it? The
I guess that
releases we
leads us
have.
to the releases. Yeah, which for me it's pretty simple. It's just a basic Paramount Blu-ray from Germany, but good transfer and all that stuff. Not really anything in terms of special features, but good transfer on Blu-ray. So that's the one that I got.
Yeah, this is the H&V Premium Edition from the UK, which comes with a slip box.
There we go.
It does have
Yeah.
some. Actually, it does have the original poster in it, which I always enjoy. It does have some movie cards in there, which these movie cards, which they always would throw in, and the original poster, which I always enjoy seeing the original posters of movies.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think it's not a difficult release to get hold of. Sons of Katie Elder. But like I say, yeah, it's whether it's a John Wayne movie that's going to get the 4K treatment, probably not urgent. I think there's far rather greater westerns that need the 4K
I'm sure it's going to get
treatment.
one eventually because it is Paramount. Paramount does really put out a lot of their stuff on 4K, but
yeah. So that's probably might happen, but So do you want me to mention what's going to happen on episode 24 as we wrap this one up?
Yes, I think that does lead us to our next episode, which is your pick. So, Carlos, tell us what we have planned for the next episode. And I heard there might be a special guest, so tell us about it.
Yeah, so we got episode 24, and obviously for the 60th anniversary, for a few dollars more, we want to get this episode. In the year of 2025. So we're looking forward to watching for a few dollars more. And we've kind of, obviously, the year previously, we did do a 60th anniversary for A Fistful of Dollars. So it's definitely one we're looking forward to checking out. Obviously, me and Jeff have watched this movie many times.
More times than I can count. Yeah.
So we just need another excuse to watch the movie, obviously, because that fancy edition that just got released this year.
Yeah.
So Jeff, you want to wrap this up and just let us, the viewer, know what major platforms we are on?
Yes, because if it's not known by now, we are also available on other platforms other than YouTube. We're also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I always forget the names of all the other platforms, but there's tons of platforms that it's on. But I guess the major ones are Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so we're good there. But you can find us on there. Just type it in into your Google search engine, whatever you use. And just type in the Westerns for Life podcast. It will come up, all different search results, all different platforms and apps and all that stuff where you can listen to us on. So if you're tired of looking at us on YouTube and you want to listen to us on the go and in the car or whatever, you want to relax on the beach listening to our podcast, you can do so by just typing in the Westerns for Life podcast and it'll come up. So with that having been said, thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Westerns for Life podcast. That was episode 23. So we'll see you all for episode 24, which is going to be the 60th anniversary special episode on For a Few Dollars More, the second of the iconic Dollars trilogy. So take care. Westerns for Life. Adios, amigos. And of course, we're bringing back the good old 6-shooter. Yeah. Stick them up. And we'll see you all in the next episode. We haven't done this in a while, no, but here comes the gunshot. And we'll see you all soon.
Okay, guys.
Get that guy who wants to come with me.
You're not going anyplace.
Oh, you're gonna try and stop me.
You bet I am. And that's for sure.
Texas is a woman, she used to say. A big, wild, beautiful woman. You get a kid raised up to where he's got some size, there's Texas, whispering in his ear, smiling, saying, come on out with me and have some fun. It's hard enough to raise children any place, she'd say. When you gotta fight Texas, mother hasn't a chance.
The Sons of Katie Elder. Led by Big John, the eldest, the gunslinger, the toughest. Tom, the gambler, who would play any game at any odds.
I'm getting out of here.
Matt, the quiet one, the dangerous one. Bud, the kid, who had to be taught what it meant to be an elder and a man.
John, this guy just called Pa a liar and a drunk. That invitation to pick up a gun still hold for Johnny Elder?
Mary, the woman who tried the impossible, taming the sons of Katie Elder.
You're gonna try and find out who killed your father, aren't you?
I sure am.
So you can even a score, kill again. Maybe even do it in front of Bud so he can be proud of his big, tough brother.
The Sons of Katie Elder. Setups for paid deputies who put them in chains before they dared to kill them in ambush.